of all, I am very happy because I've got great privileges and honor to be here. Professor Andrzejewski was talking about his master. He's very close to him person, Professor Kmieciak. It is for me great honor to be here because, in fact, Professor Andrzejewski is quite guilty because he's in fact me lots of years ago with the topic of the human rights and children's rights. So I am very happy that I can be here. First of all, we've got some few areas here: psychology, pedagogy, and law. You see, I am professor of medical law at the Medical University in Poland, in Łódź, but I am also a pedagogist and psychoeducator, and I love to talk about the children's rights with children, because I believe that this is very amazing. When I am talking with my daughters about children's rights, it's quite difficult for me. But you see, when we think about the children's rights, I think that we've got this in our mind, because all of us here, we all are children. I believe that sometimes our parents talk to us, "Come on, my child." I am an adult person, but when I'm going to my mom, he said to me, "Oh, my dear child," because I'm her only son. I've got also two sisters. The story that is continue, because we need to turn back to the history about the thinking about the childhood, about the children, and different laws. I believe here should be a word rights, not law, because we talk about special relationship between the children and this special form of parental authority that is quite different than, for instance, authority of policemen. But first of all, maybe you saw this movie. This is a movie with great Robin Williams. This is the Patch Adams movie. This is, in fact, a story of Dr. Patch Adams. He was a person that wanted to kill himself. We know that Robin Williams makes suicide. And this is an amazing person, very, very difficult story. But Patch Adams is a story that put my mind into the moment when I was a child. And like you see, my English language is quite funny, so this will be the form of laughing therapy for you for the next minute. But let's go back to the Janusz Korczak, Dr. Janusz Korczak. This is a part of the movie. The title is, in fact, Korczak. This is a very old movie from Poland. And this is a quite amazing moment of this film, because Janusz Korczak was also a professor of psychology and pedagogy at the National Institute of Special Education, Special Pedagogy, but he was also a teacher of Medical Academy in Warsaw University before the Second World War. And this is the moment when he took his students to the special room. This was the room, the Röntgen office, RTG office. And he took with him, you can see inside there is a small child. This is a small girl. We can see he took this young girl in his hands, and he put her after this strange thing with RTG. And he told to his students, remember this moment, remember these eyes, remember this view. You can see in this picture, this Röntgener picture, RTG picture, the heart of the children that is afraid. Remember this moment, the moment of seeing the heart of this child. Because if we want to talk about children's rights of the child, we need to go back to the happiness, and we need to go back to the sadness moment, the sad moment of our childhood. But the child, the history, we remember, for instance, here are great lawyers. I believe that you remember the moment of your study when you were studying the Roman law, the ancient Roman law. There was a law for that, in fact, give the father the highest authority of deciding of everything about the child. Not only, for instance, deciding about the marriage, but also deciding about this, if this child will live or will die. For instance, the children with disability, we know that in lots of years ago, for instance, in ancient Rome, there was no law for this child to live. And we know that there was also a moment in history, for instance, during the ancient, not only ancient time, but also the middle times, when we were thinking that children is in fact not an adult person, so it's not in 100% a good person. It is not, in 100% in fact a human. And this was a very bad time. At this moment, thanks to the convention, for instance, we know that the child is an individual and unique value. It's very important for our story. And we know that child and parents, these are in fact the cooperation of rights and obligations. When we think about children's rights, we think also about the elements of the rights, the needs, the law and guarantees. For instance, guarantee to life, safety and dignity. This is the very important with relationship with children, for instance, in school. And also, but we have also some form of fear that we lose our authority. For instance, in Poland there is that kind of words that children and fishes do not have rights to talk. We sometimes think like this. My grandma also said to me when I was talking about politics, and I remember this very well. But we know that the child, he has a right to discussion. My daughters know this very well. Vision and conception, web upbringing and children's rights. This is element that is important. That's why the cooperation, Professor Andrzejewski, he said this cooperation between law and pedagogy is very important. Children's rights, but also responsibilities. I was an ombudsman in a psychiatric hospital. There was also a hospital for the children. And I remember that the young child, young boy, he went to the nurse and he said to her, listen to me, I've got my ombudsman, I've got rights, and you've got obligation. This is a very, very dangerous moment of discussion about the children's rights. If we focus only on the rights without the responsibilities and obligations. I will talk about this at the moment. Children's rights, disguising as an adult. I think here about the dressing children as an adults. There is a second dangerous element in psychopedagogy, that we think that if we have a child, this is in fact an adult person, but micro-adult person, some small adult person. No, the child has a right to be a child. Janusz Korczak, he said there are no childrens, there are humans. Of course, I agree with this in 100% in the perspective of dignity of the person. But we need to remember that children are children. They do not have experience, knowledge. They cannot decide about, for instance, the complicated dilemmas, moral dilemmas. And we need to remember that they are human, but they are also a child that have rights to have mistakes like a child. Paternalism, it can be good, but it can be terrible. If we're talking about the domestic violence, I know this is horrible. I am a member of in Poland, of the National State Commission for the Prevention of Pedophilia, and I know very well from the concrete cases that the father can make horrible, very horrible things for his daughter, for instance. But I know also that being a father is for me a great adventure, a great honor. And I know that there are some situations when I can tell to one of the 3 daughters, you cannot do this because I love you. And somebody will tell me, whoa, this is the horrible paternalism. How can you say like this? Yes, I can say like this because this is my obligation to protect my children, my daughter, from the concrete dangerous that I saw this dangerous. vision of children's rights signify different rights. The relationship to the authority. I told you this before, because we often thinking that authority of the parents is, for instance, very bad. In Poland, there is a discussion about this, that we need to change the words that we've got our, I don't know, parental authority to the only responsible of the parents. I cannot agree with this, because relationship between the children and the parents is unusual, is amazing. This is not the similar like relationship between children and, for instance, teacher. Of course, this is very important meetings and relationship, but the relationship between father, mother and his child is unusual. A child's rights can be fully realized in the family. Convention of the Protection of the Children's Rights is saying about this very clearly. The family is an amazing place for the uprising the childhood. Children's rights and children's needs. And we've got children's rights are not depend on the fulfillment of the obligations. Does the law educate? Well, the law, like you see, has a strong education power. Yes, we know this. It has an ability to have a positive impact on the society and whole, and also on the individual person. But we've got something like pedagogy of law. First of all, we've got law, then we've got upbringing. This is we see the concrete act, and it gives us opportunity to think about this act. It's in our minds. So this is the form of upbringing. Then the upbringing gives us some perspective of our conscience, of critical, I don't know, point of view for some topic, and this gives us opportunity to make better law, and this also gives us opportunity another one and the second time of upbringing. Education of law. During before the Second World War, we know that there was a Janusz Korczak, but there also was a great Polish philosopher of law, Leon Petrożycki, and he was talking about the pedagogy of law. He was talking about the obligation of parents, of authority also, to talk about law, to create a critical element, a critical thinking about law, to create a conscience inside of the concrete young people, to discuss about the law. So you can read here his voice. But he was also a person that saw a very important element, the dangers of the demoralization by the law. In 2014, I believe, in Poland, there was a huge discussion about the patient's rights. I was, like I told you, patient's rights ombudsman in a psychiatric hospital, and I'm also bioethics. And in 2014, there was a discussion about the law, about the rights of the young child, young girls mostly, that end 15 years old, to go to the pharmacy and to buy contraception by their own, without acceptation of the parents, without acceptation of family. And there was a minister of health in Poland, who was, in fact, it's horrible for me because he was a pediatrics. And he said that young boy, young girl, they have a right to go to the pharmacy and to buy, without acceptation of father and mother, contraception pills. Because why? Because, like Archbishop tell us, we heard about this, there is something like reproductive rights. And there was a horrible situation because in Poland, young boy and young girl cannot decide by their own about their health, about the relationship with, for instance, physicians, doctors and nurses. We've got concrete law, concrete rights that give them opportunity to decide, for instance, when they end 16 years old. And this was the situation, in fact, for me, with demoralization element, because, for instance, young girl went to the pharmacy and she said, I want to have contraception pill. And I, as a father, haven't any law to have information about this difficult situation, for instance, about the problems. It was the element of demoralization, in my opinion. This is also the element of, these are words of Father Professor Francis Mazurek from Catholic University of Lublin. He said that not every upbringing leads to respect of human rights. It's very important, because if we want to talk about the human rights, if we want to talk about the children's rights, we need to remember about the ethics, about the values, about the unusual relationship between children and families, mostly with parents, because the parents know the best the element of his know the best them child. Development. I'm going to the end, and I would like to focus of the self-education, the process of the self-education. If we have, I want to talk about element of psychopedagogy. We hear at the first stage the element that we don't want to be a punishment. This is the developing morality, self-education. On the first step, we don't want to have punishment. We want to have some goods. On the second, we want to be a good child. I want to be talking about, well, general standards are important for me. So it is for me to hear about me that I am a very good boy, I am a very good person. And the last element of the morality development, it's important to create inside of ourselves our conscious, critical conscious that is analyze what is good and what is bad. But the most important element of this building of our conscious is strongly relationship with mother and father, the relationship between people that love this child. That's why the authority of the parenthood authority of mother and father is different than, for instance, authority of teacher. Because from my perspective as a father, my children, my daughters are most important for me because I love them. Gianfranco Zavalori, he said that if we want to talk about the children's rights, the childhood, we need to remember, we need to recall, we need to go back to the moment when we were a child, when we were happiness, when we feel happy because we saw somebody. And we need to remember the moment when we were also sad, we feel sadness, because this gives us opportunity to talk with our children. And the last moment, maybe you saw the film The Chosen. I believe that you all remember the moment. I am not a theologist. I saw here priests, so I believe that the bishops and they've got great knowledge about the theology. I am not a theologist, but for me, we talk sometimes that Janusz Korczak was the first ombudsman, child ombudsman, but I got discussion about this because when I am reading the New Testament, I know that some people believe here in God and some people don't. It's your opinion. I don't want to talk with you about that you need to believe in God. No, this is the perspective of pedagogy. But when I am, as a pedagogist, when I am reading the New Testament and I saw this moment, you wrote this, you know this moment that apostles in Jesus that Jesus told us that let the children come to me. But imagine what was before of this moment. In times of Jesus Christ, children were nothing. He was nothing. He was not important person. Nobody think about the childhood, that this is important. There was no psychology in New Testament. I know ancient Roman was not a psychologist. This was not important for them. And suddenly there is a teacher, young guy, amazing person, and he saw the concrete person, for instance, concrete child. We saw on the movie the concrete children's, and he saw the concrete child. He said, let the children come to me. He was the concrete subject, not the object. I believe that if we want to protect, like I wrote here, if we want to protect children's rights, it is necessary to see this child, to be with this child, and to hear his voice. Thank you very much.